for sure.
Willie Barcena, ladies and gentlemen, comedy legend, man I love. Welcome, my brother.
Thank you, bro. Well, I have much respect for you, bro. So thank you for having me, Tom Rhodes.
You're a guy that's been around as long as I have.
Yeah.
How many years you been a comedian?
33.
Okay, I've been at 38.
Okay,
Yeah.
well, I'm a little behind.
No. There's not many people that have the
3 decades,
the miles and stage time and just comedy traveling wisdom that you and I have. So
that's a lot of road work.
I love you. I'm thrilled to have you in my home.
Thank
but
you.
let's start with, you were telling me about this hurricane that hit you during the COVID. Like,
Yeah, because we were talking about relationships, and I guess you shared a little bit about a breakup, and then I said, well, I had a breakup during COVID, man, and it was just, we already having issues because we're comedians and we're on the road, so we were already.
well, marriage is hard. You were how long were you married?
27.
Wow.
27
Yeah.
years, or about 27, 26. But we're having issues already, and then COVID came, and then it sounds like a joke, but the people that, like comedians or musicians, people that travel that aren't used to seeing each other every single day, it was new, and it was an adjustment. And the adjustment was where we're, kind of getting on each other's nerves, and and then the pressure of no money coming in, and then I got swindled by my sister and my mother during COVID, man. They had said, that there was a duplex in Silver Lake, and they had said that the front house was mine all along. That's what I thought for 25 years, and I put thousands and thousands of dollars into fixing these homes, and then they try to sell the house, without me knowing. So I had to get a lawyer. And it's a mess, bro. We broke up. The homes got sold. I had a lot of issues with my wife, and then I didn't know where to live. And it was weird, man, because during COVID for a while I had my car packed. I looked like those homeless people because I was living in the hotels and motels, bro. Because I didn't know what I was gonna do. And then finally I found a hotel in Pasadena that I liked. I actually liked this hotel, and it became like my apartment, And then there I was able to like gather myself and like, okay, come up with a plan. Okay, what's the next plan? What am I gonna do? And then I just refocused. COVID started opening up. Work started opening up, and I started working on social media.
But basically, on top of this plague that hit the earth, it sounds like your whole life collapsed. Your marriage, problems with getting swindled by family, which is something I can relate to.
Yeah.
Like, back when I had my sitcom, I had a few family members take advantage of me, and it never do money shit with your family, I learned.
No, man, but I got my mother's evil, bro. I had to say I have, she had an evil plan. She lied to me the whole time, saying that the property was mine. And she says, hey, just keep putting money in the houses because the property value goes up, and there are homes. And I go, okay, our homes, man, beautiful. So then when I came home one day during COVID, I did some errand, like the only places we could go that were open were like markets and Home Depot, right? Those are the only two places you could like go get stuff. And I came home and there were houses for sale. And I went like, what are you doing? What do you mean the houses are for sale? And she goes, yeah, I got to go. I'm going to sell them. But you can't sell them because I own the front one. He goes, no, you don't. I go, wait a minute, blah, blah, blah. And then I got a lawyer. Lawyer said, your sister owns the front house. She's owned it for like 30 years. I go, these motherfuckers, man.
Wow.
And then, my mom's plan was great, bro. Like an evil person, if you have a movie, like The Evil Plan, it was beautiful, bro. I gotta give her props for how well her evil plan was constructed. And I always said, but she had one little flaw, man, in her plan. She died. And like you fucked up because it was so perfect, but then she died before she can collect,
When did she die?
I don't know, 8 months ago.
Wow.
Yeah.
So there was hard feelings when she died.
I have no feelings, bro.
Yeah, okay.
I have no feel. For me, there was nothing. To me, it was the universe telling her, like, fuck you back. You know? I mean, I don't know if I can cuss or whatever, but it was the universe telling her, you know, that's not how it works. You know, and I'm a big believer in I try to do the right thing, which obviously as a human being, I step on my dick all the time. I mess up, and then I have to go, you know, apologize to the gods, you know, and then but I do believe in that, man. That you gotta try to be not try, but you have to be a good person.
Man, but you know, life is constantly about picking yourself up after you get knocked down.
Yeah.
And the way you described it, you know, you said you got hit by this hurricane, but you came out with like kind of some philosophical strength and outlook on it. So what, you know, what's your attitude and how you've been left standing strong?
Well, this is how I feel. Now that the smoke's cleared, I'm a lot more grounded, and I know what matters to me. I kind of got a rebirth, and like why I like stand up, like what my purpose of stand up was, and it was to share stories and stories that are true to me, and what's important, you know, and what's and it's having a real relationship with my sons, having a real relationship with friends, having and even my wife, who we're broken up but we're still friends, and understanding that anything negative has consequences. Anything negative thoughts about myself, negative thoughts about any other, it has consequences, and that's just something I did because, you know, I had nothing to do for a while, so I would just drive to the beach, to Malibu, and you know the cove, you've been in that where you could, it's past Pepperdine, man, and there's like a cove where you can hike up this mountain. There's like a little mountain hill, and you can overlook. So I did that for a few times, man, out there, and then the other thing I would go is to Sousa Canyons. You know, I don't know if you're taking that drive, but I would be by myself and just say, all right, you know, I need answers.
Yeah.
You know, and I'm not a religious guy, but I would say, like, all right, you know, I need some help, some thinking, somebody to help me, you know, with some answers.
Yeah.
And that's how I came to this, bro.
Well, you know, last year was probably one of the hardest years of my life. I witnessed a suicide. Some woman jumped off the Grove parking garage as I was walking by, and
right this building here,
right on the same street, and landed right next to me. And,
what the fuck?
Yeah, man,
dude, that's
fucking like my arms linked to my right, and pop!
I mean, you mean like you're walking and then a body drops next to you?
Out of the fucking sky. So COVID, there's death in the air, and like bodies are falling out of the sky. And then the January 6th insurrection thing happened. Like, oh my God, the country's falling apart. Everything, there's no certainty. I don't have stand-up comedy, which is my lifeblood. So everything you're saying resonates with me because, I was by myself for most of last year.
Yeah.
So I had to take drives to the ocean just to be reminded of the permanence of the sea.
You would do the ocean too?
And man, I was going for drives. I was doing anything I could to cheer myself up. You know, when I was a kid, I loved baseball cards. Yeah. I was going to like this flea market and you know, fucking buying baseball cards, you know, cheap ones, and just like anything I could think of to cheer myself up because I was in such a black hole, you know?
Right, yeah, no, I know what you're talking about. I was dark, man. I mean, you know, there was nights there that I would drink a whole bottle of tequila, and then I would say, just like for me, like I told you, you know, when I would drink during this time, it would be, I just wanted to disappear, man, because I couldn't even sleep, you know, I couldn't sleep, and so I would drink a whole bottle, bro, pass out, and listen to Mexican music, because Mexican music is like exactly like country music, bro. It's the same depressing shit, you know, like there is, you know, no one loves you.
Oh, heartache.
You know, I ain't got it. I mean, I'm telling you, bro, I speak both languages, so when I listen to country and you listen to Mexican music, they're saying the same exact thing, bro. So it's all about feeling sorry for yourself, and there's you know, there's no hope, you know, and she's gone, and you took the pickup truck and the dog, that kind of shit, bro. So I would just get hammered, and then I in my life, I have this thing where when devastation comes, I've had my pity parties, man, where I cry and I feel sorry for myself and you know and like I want to kill myself, you know, all that. I get really, I allow it, man. I allow it to happen, and then the next day when I wake up, I go, all right, I had a good cry, you know, the time to you know get this shit together. So that's how I dealt with that, bro.
Well, it's good to talk to you, man, because you know, this girl I've been seeing this woman for the last few years. You know, we broke up earlier this year, but like just, you know, still some recent activities. I've been really down the last like couple weeks, man, and like.
Did she break up or did you break up?
I broke up with her last year, and I think it's one of the biggest mistakes I ever made in my life.
Wow,
yeah,
man.
She was fun. She was smart, beautiful, and loved every booger in my head. Loved me the way I want to be loved. I had pure romance. For the first time in my life, I was being loved the way I wanted to be loved, and
so why did you fail?
It's just.
Did you feel like you didn't deserve it? Like, no, man.
Well, I did. There was, you know, we had gotten into a few arguments, and I overreacted. You know, and it's that ego.
It's the ego.
So it was my ego that broke up with her. But now, a year later, after I broke up with her, my heart still belongs to her.
Wow.
Like my love for her never went away, and like whatever my ego was telling me at the time, like, you know. That's, you know, I don't want, you know, someone, you know, arguing over small things or whatever. And Jesus Christ, if we could just remove the ego from our lives, we'd be so much better.
But I think aside from ego, I think it's a defense mechanism, because you pushed her away because it wasn't the arguing, is the arguing hurt you. And you were like, oh man, because you were married before, and you're like, I don't want to feel this shit anymore. I don't want to.
Well, you know, and I don't need a therapist, and I don't need to go to Peru and do ayahuasca. I know what's wrong with me. It's that feeling of not being good enough at times. So I was being as great as I could be, did all these romantic things, and I can voice it now after having a year to analyze it. That like it was the feeling of like, what am I not good enough?
Right.
Is this not perfect? And that's how I was reacting, you know. I mean, I was hurt, but you know, it's.
But you don't think it was your way of like, maybe she was getting too close, and then the fear that, okay, she's getting super close, you're getting close to her, and man, if she leaves now, it's gonna fucking hurt. So I don't know if that's what was.
Well, I mean, I don't know why. I mean, I spent so much time alone last year, and then I finally was with the person that I love, and I sent her away, and I've still been alone for the last year, and I just think, what a fuck. I wake up, I'm having a hard time sleeping lately, and the recurring thought that keeps coming to my head is, why did I do such a stupid thing? You know, what a moron.
But you know, the crazy thing, I think a lot of artists have trouble with intimacy, man. Have trouble with having a one-on-one. So our relationship is with the audience. You know, a painter's relationship is he paints, and then he wants the audience to look at it. You know, but having a one-on-one, like I don't know, whatever a normal human being is, I think we have trouble with that, man, because you know, we have friends.
Well, and then our life is always in these little breaks because we're constantly traveling.
Yeah.
But for the first time in my life, because of the pandemic, I didn't have to travel.
Right.
And I never realized how much I love sleeping in my own bed. I love not flying around the country constantly.
Right.
So I finally had everything I ever dreamed of, and I ruined it.
Have you reached out to her?
Yeah.
And she's
It's you know.
Has she moved on?
She wants to move on. Yeah.
She probably. I think if a woman says, "I think I want to move on," I think it's already happened. You know what I mean? I think she's already moved on, man. Yeah. So you know, hey.
And that's why I'm having a hard time.
No, you know, listen, brother. The best thing I can tell you, man, and listen, I'm in a similar situation. Is you know, is I say, believe that someone's gonna come to you, man, and you're gonna find someone that you're gonna share it with. Faith, right? Without faith, there's nothing. I mean, what do all religions work on? All of them use the word faith, right? And they sell you that. And what is faith? Every religion has it, and that's their selling pitch, right? And faith is believing in something that's not here yet. So if you use that process, your thought process is, okay, I believe that she's here, and I want to thank the universe for her, or God, whatever you want to say. God, universe, to me they're the same people, but it's funny because I think that word's pretty powerful. I've had things happen in my life because I have faith, and I'm not a religious guy. So I would say that, man. I would say, meditate on that one.
Okay.
I almost say thank you that you brought me this girl, who's not even here yet.
No, I pray for this woman every night.
But you gotta say
I'm not like an overly religious freak or anything, but I believe in the power of prayer.
Okay.
And I've been praying continuously.
But here it is. It's like a friend of mine who's a preacher, man, and he was on Facebook and Instagram and he had he's at the hospital with tubes, and I guess he had COVID, and I see everybody like, I'm sending you prayers, right? I'm sending you prayers, and then he puts, man, pray for me. So I never put anything. When I see a friend sick or whatever, I never put anything, bro. I never put, hey, good luck, I'm praying for you. Nothing, man. I have the thoughts. I have thoughts that you're gonna be good, and to me that's good enough. So I was talking to him, and he recovered from this illness, right? And this is a guy that goes to church all the time. And I go, bro, he goes, man, Willie, that was a close one. I said, but wait a minute, you're like so religious and you preach. And I go, what about faith, man? And he goes, yeah, but so I explained to him, faith is, you should be saying on Instagram or Facebook, thank you that I'm healed already. Look at me. These are my pictures of me being when I was sick, as in the past, right? Because I mean, I don't know, man. When we one of the things that we get to do that other people don't get to do, we travel the world. I was in Israel right when COVID opened up, right when it opened up, and I'm, picking this rabbi's brain about philosophy and life and faith, and it's all the same shit, bro.
What was the best knowledge nugget that he gave you?
Best now the rabbi gave me, man. Okay, this is the one he gave me, man. We talked about a bunch of stuff, but the one he told me is how to look at life and mistakes. This is the one that I dug. And he said, always look at things that happen in your life that are bad, as be grateful for it, because the universe is telling you this is how not to do it. Try another way. So he says, always look at it as something good, not something bad.
I heard a preacher once say that the shit in your life, the bad things, the mistakes, the pain and injustices,
right?
Any bad thing that happens to you, the shit,
right?
Look at it. Shit is manure, and manure is the best fertilizer.
Right.
And that from the shit, the most beautiful flowers are gonna grow.
No,
so that's the way you should look at bad things in your life. The shit is going to produce.
Was a Catholic priest, Christian? What was it?
A Christian. Yeah.
Well, you see what I mean, bro? It's like you can talk to someone who's Buddhist, Hinduism, whatever, man, and it's they're all, to me, they're all really saying the same thing, man. Just different gods, I guess, different titles. But to me, it's, that makes sense. It's all, energy and the universe. That's where, that makes sense. And I like that, man.
Well, I'm trying to put as much good in the world as I can. So, I really believe in just karma, goodwill, and the energy put in the world. So I have no idea how I ended up on this tiny little fucking rock in the ocean, because I really have tried to be a good person, man.
No, and you have.
God, why have you forsaken me?
No, man. I mean, we were talking. I look back at Mike when I was a young comic, man. A lot of the shit that happened to me, I know that I created it. Now looking back at young me and saying those things that had happened, I made it happen. It wasn't as if I was.
You told me you've been working on a one-man show about
No, I actually wrote a script. It's not a one-man show. I wrote a script about things that this comedian did. This comedian happened to be me, and I look at him from the outside, and I look at him how other people would see him. Because back then I couldn't do that because it was just I was too close to it. But now, I wrote it. We shot scenes in Vegas. We shot my house in Silver Lake. When we had the house, we shot a bunch of scenes there. We shot scenes at my friend's store. We shot scenes at my friend, another buddy's accounting office. And it's about a comedian who's trying to be, who's married, but keeps fucking up because he doesn't do the right thing. There's a scene where I'm telling one of my kids, which taken out of my life, where he failed Spanish, right? My kid failed Spanish when he was in high school. And I was like, dude, how can you fail Spanish, man? Fuck, you speak to your grandparents in Spanish all the time, And that's a ghost. And so I yell at him, and you see me just go off on him. And then I walk away and I look at the camera, right? And I'm going, you see, man, that's how you earn your son's respect. You gotta let them know that you're the man. This new school or new type of parenting is garbage. So look at that kid, and the camera looks at him and the kid's very respectful. But then as the camera zooms in and you hear him talking to his other brother, they're going, hey, he's a piece of shit, ain't he? What the fuck is wrong with this guy? Like trying to tell me what to do. I don't give a fuck. I don't speak Spanish, man. Right? And then camera comes back to me. I'm like, see, man, this is respect, right? And then I wave and they wave, So that's one of one of the scenes, bro. When I was a young comic, I don't know if I was telling you, man. I remember I was getting heckled at the Laugh Factory, and these two guys kept heckling me, and I said, hey, if you guys don't stop, I'm gonna fuck you up. I'm gonna hit you with this mic stand. And they kept heckling me. And a long story short, man, I jump off stage with the mic stand, and I remember Melanie. She used to be the manager there, a little Filipino girl. Anyways, I jump off stage and I'm chasing these two guys down the Sunset Strip, man, with a mic stand, bro. That was when I was a young comic, I was a crazy little fuck.
So, what are some of the biggest mistakes you made as a comedian? Because you were saying, you fucked up in a lot of different ways that were your own fault.
Bro. One of the big ones when I was super young comic, remember what a big deal it was to get picked to do comedy on Saturday night at the Improv.
Oh yeah,
on Melrose. You got to pick to be a regular.
Yeah,
man. I remember my very first night that I got picked up. I was like, this is my very first night, and I was like 9-10, right? 9-10 on the schedule, and then all these guys that there was, Drew Carey and Charles. What's his name? The voice of Roger Rabbit. I forget the cat's name. Charles.
Oh, Charles Fleischer. Yeah.
Charles Fleischer, right? Excuse me, Charles. But a great comic. So all these, guys that I looked up to, man. This is my very first night, and there was the host says, "Hey, man, who's this guy? Who's Willie Barcena?" And I'm like, "That's me, man." And he goes, "How'd you get on?" And that's how he's asking me. Yeah, right. So he brings me up on stage, and Bud's there. Bud Friedman's there. At the time, my manager was Dave Rath. I remember. And so I go up there. But the guy goes, "Hey, I'm going to bring up this comedian. Never heard of him. Hope he's funny." But he had asked me for my intro. And he didn't give me a real intro. That was my intro.
Wow.
Willie, and he didn't say my last name right. So I get off stage, man. Right? And I'm waiting for the cat to come up. And I go, "Hey, bro, why did you bring me up like that?" And he's like, What are you talking about? You know what you did. And I grabbed him by his shirt. And I headbutted him, man, and I knocked him out. And his body was folding on the rail. And then Bud came out and was like, there's this dude laying there, and then Dave comes out, and I go, "What the fuck did you do?" I go, "Bro, I'm sorry, man. He's got disrespectful, you know." LA rules, bro. I wasn't from the improv, man. I was an LA comic, man. I'm an LA guy.
But that's always my impression of you. I don't like, because I had two older brothers who were like fucking tough guys and shit.
But I'm not a tough guy.
But that's the thing. So I'm trying to differentiate a tough guy from a dude who's just a bad motherfucker you don't want to tangle with. I mean, you're from LA. You came from tough circumstances, and you know what it is, man. And I think that's one of your great strengths.
Yeah, but it worked against me many times, because instead of having harmony through tough situations, I try to just bulldoze through things, and that's the best way I can describe it. And listen, man, I came from, we all have our issues. I was abused physically by my mom. I got beat downs, like with an electric cord, man. And I think as a kid, when you get hit like that and you get these nasty beatings, man, and then I didn't, I got here as an immigrant, so I didn't speak English when I went to school. And then you get bullied again. So this constant, and then you realize, okay, this is how it works. That guy, picks on you, and you let him pick on you, he's going to ride you the whole year. Not only is he going to ride you, guys under him are going to smack you around. So as I got in junior high, and I think it was 9th grade when I finally hit some guy in the mouth really nice, and then it got good, After that, it was like, I wasn't a bully or anything, I was a skinny kid, but I had fast hands. And then I went from that and came to this side of town. I was never on this side. I was always on Echo Park side, right? Echo Park was as furthest as west as I would get. Like Echo Park, maybe Silver Lake, right? But when I remember coming to the Improv and this side of town for auditions. It's like a new country, bro. I was like, oh shit. Damn, it's white out here.
But one of the things I love about your comedy is you have this kind of philosophical like hard advice, but it's like a philosophical way of like a man who's learned some shit.
Yeah.
Because you've been through the toughest circumstances. You've been a comedian for 35 years,
yeah.
And I mean, you've got a Library of Congress full of wisdom.
Well,
on how to survive shit. You got 3 sons, and just about surviving in LA as a young man, or advice you have to comedians, and now advice you're giving to me on relationships. It's like, you have so much to offer.
Yeah, well, a lot of man, a lot of hard knocks. Raising the boys, my 2 older boys graduated from college playing ball. They both played
baseball.
Baseball,
shit.
yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, one of them.
And you taught him baseball.
I was one of their main coaches, but I did have some good people around me, man. I had some people that really knew the game that helped me out. I mean, I was lucky to have Kenny Landreau come over to my house, who played left field for the Dodgers.
Yeah.
Left fielder when they won the World Series. I had Babo, used to come on, Babo Castillo, who taught Valenzuela
Sinker?
No, it wasn't a screwball.
Okay.
Yeah. And they would come over to my house, we would drink, and I would like pick their brains. I mean, when my kid played travel ball, the older one, we had Steve Garvey's son on our team, Ryan Garvey, and we had Lenny Dykstra's kid was on our travel team. So there's some serious ballers, man, that we would, travel all over, And anyways, I was an old school dad with them, with my boys, even though we're here in LA, because the reason I was so old school with them, because I had friends that died, like friends that they were like, hey, what happened to so-and-so? Oh, he got shot. What happened? Oh man, he was, this is back in the day, right? He was in the phone booth, right? He was in the phone booth and they caught him. Like, whoa, who, what? Or, just stories like that. Or, oh man, what happened to so-and-so? Oh, dude, that dude was, back in those days, was sniffing. When our young days, where people would sniff paint or glue.
Oh, wow.
That was big in LA with in the hood. And then you run into that kid and he'd be like, fucking dumb as fuck. You know, like he's not there anymore.
Sniffed all the brain cells.
Yeah, he sniffed all the brain cells.
Yeah.
So I knew that these kids were going to be raised in L.A., so I tried to use the tactic of scaring them. You know, that was my thing. Like, hey, if you get bad grades, man, I ain't fucking around. I'll kill you guys. And if I ever hear you guys do any, you involved with gangs, I'll fuck you up. All that. So there was this. I didn't know how I could have done the same thing with love, but it took me years to realize that. And then once I realized, then I had to do all this damage control. I had to go back and tell them, man, listen, the reason I fucked up was because of these reasons. And you think in a Hollywood movie it would be like, oh yeah, Dad, I get it, I understand. Yeah. Oh, let's love each other. Hell no, bro. It took like 3, 4, 5 years for that mess to clear up, you know? Because for years they were like, nah, fuck this guy, man.
Well, like before we started recording, you were saying that, like, you weren't taught love.
Oh, no.
Growing up.
No, man.
You didn't have a good example, did you?
No. I never had a. Well, first of all, I was raised without a dad. My mom was abusive, man. She was like, not only was she okay, the beatdowns are pretty violent, right? When you get beat up, when you get hit with a electric cord or whatever she had. And then comes the verbal abuse, the you're no good and you're like your father. And she would say, you're like my father. And I always heard her talk about my father. And all his brothers always made fun of him, called him the loser, So her telling me, you're like your father and you're 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, hearing these words. And so there was never, it was hard for me to, I had to teach myself love. I literally had to Google love when
how to love?
No, I just Googled love. The first time she left, the kids were little. I actually wrote a joke about it. It was on that joke was on Comedy Central when I had my special, but it was about when they left, and the little one was like 3 years old at the time. And the joke was like, I was telling the little one, hey man, sometimes parents don't get along. He's like, yeah, we'll call you. That's the end of that bit. But I did not know. And I remember her telling me one time when I got back from the road, she goes, the kids don't love you. She goes, they fear you, and then at that, I didn't know anything about love. I didn't know anything about like really opening up yourself, especially coming from this male, macho, Mexican-American culture, that really doesn't embrace, the warmth and love.
Not too much room for sensitivity.
Yeah, no. Yeah. Well, they're looking at you as weak.
Hey, everybody, I've been working on some poetry. I'd like to read it.
Man, I believe right now I'm like on my 4th reinvention of me. Like I had to reinvent myself. Like, okay, every time the shit fucked up, and I could say, all right, blame everybody, right? Fuck everybody. I didn't have a dad. My mom's a piece of shit. I tried. Hollywood can suck it. But no, every time I had to sit there, I had to do some real self-evaluation. Like, okay, who fucked up? And it always came back to me. So then, okay, now I have to kind of like what in religion they call born again, right? I like to call a rebirth of myself, but just evaluating. Like I would literally put it on paper. Okay, what do I need to change? What parts of me do I? And I would write it down, man, because I read somewhere that writing things down, it's kind of magical because you're writing each letter and it's getting recorded in the brain. And as you're writing, you're feeling. And as you're feeling, you're sending the energy off. So that's why I would write these things down, man. And versus, put it on.
I'm a pen and paper guy myself.
Yeah.
I think there's something really spiritual and just artistically locked into the universe when you write things. Pen and paper. So how are you injecting more love into your life these days after these big revelations?
Well, I watch what I say to people. I watch my tone, which I used to make a joke about that because my kid, my wife had told me like 4 years ago, and I thought it was a joke, right? To me, it was a joke. I dismissed it as a joke. I say it on stage, people laugh. You know, I go, man, this new generation, you know, like my kid, my wife is like, you know, he doesn't like the tone. And I'm like, oh, the tone. Man, with these pussies today, right? But that's a good way of just making it a joke and pushing it aside. But it is the tone, man. It's if you talk to someone with disrespect, the energy comes at them and they're gonna give you back what you give. So I actually learned, like now if I'm gonna ask my son a question, it's not like, hey man, did you get that thing done? It's like, hey man, I'm calling just to see how you're doing. And I know we had discussed that situation. Just wondered if you had time to get to it. And I think he feels, okay, well, he's respecting me versus like, hey man, what the fuck? You said you're gonna get it done, you know? And then he's like, well, fuck you too. It's not done. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So how did I learn? And that with every relationship, with friends, man, with friends, when they text me, I would have like hundreds of texts, because if it wasn't something for me, I didn't give a fuck. You know, I was like, hey, Willie, I want to see you, man, blah, blah, blah. But does it have anything to do with me? Does it benefit me? Fuck off, right? So I would have, so I learned that, hey, motherfucker, you want people to love you, you want energy, well, you got to give something back, you know? It's like, you know, like plants, relationships like plants. You gotta water it if you want, you know, the fruit. So
there's a book a girlfriend gave me years ago that I have, and it's called The Art of Loving, and that's what it says in it, that you can say you love flowers all day long.
Okay.
But if you don't get your flowers water and sunshine, you don't love flowers. And that love is an act. It's not a word. It's an act that you actually have to do something to make love work.
Yeah. No, I had this. I was talking to my boy.
I remember when I read that, I was like, nah, this is bullshit. Yeah. Love is a natural thing. You don't need to work on it or whatever. And then like that, just through the years, that's been the most like solid, perfect advice. Love is an action. It's not a word. Put effort into it.
You know, us using these words, man. It's like from my generation. I know, man. We were like, you know, we weren't raised with this, man. We weren't raised. I remember looking at when I first saw Oprah and her or Dr. Phil talking about love. I'd be like, changes like, these fucking assholes, you know. But then now you get older and like, okay, I get it, you know. It's.
Well, I had a tough guy dad too, but I got my best qualities from him. My sense of humor.
Yeah.
And my dad loved stand-up comedy. And my dad took me to the first show I ever saw when I was 11.
Nice.
Which made me want to be a comedian. But he loved Pryor, and so I mean, I grew up with my dad loving stand-up, so I already fell in love with it. And then also baseball. And then so when I reached out to you a couple of weeks ago, was when I was really starting to, you know, I just been feeling low,
right.
And you know, as popular as I am, I don't have, you know, a ton of great friends,
right.
And I love baseball, and I knew that you had coached Little League baseball in East LA for years, and this thought that came to me, I thought, you know what? Not only do I want to invite Willie Barcena on my show, at the same time, if you remember, I asked you, hey man, are you still coaching Little League?
Yeah.
Because what I thought would really lift my spirits, you know, I wanted to be like, help you be an assistant coach, or just go, you know, pick up balls in the outfield.
Right.
I thought that would really help me, being around kids and helping out with you coaching baseball.
Well, I still coach, you know, once in a while. I mean, was it, I think a month ago, there was a high school here in Northeast LA, you know, and you got East LA people get real prideful about this, man, and Northeast LA people do it too. So Northeast LA, East LA. So Northeast LA, and I went there and I talked to some kids there. I saw them practicing, but I can go there and you know, and get dirty and help out if you ever want, man. I can do it anytime. I stopped because you get burned out, man. The kids, when they don't when you get kids that you share all this knowledge and all this love, and they're kids are from the hood, bro. These aren't kids from Orange County or Chatsworth area. These are kids from the hood. These kids tell you fuck you. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And you got to get this kid that tells you fuck you, like, and you got to pull him aside and you got to talk to him. You got to and you got to almost change his whole way of thinking of life. It's like, you know, and it's exhausting, man, because you do it you know what I mean? Like when you say, like, hey man, those are the wrong socks. Hey, I got socks, man. What the fuck? You know, they'll tell you, I got socks. No, well, I don't care. Though I don't want those socks. You know, go get socks. Go get the ones. You know, and then you'll hear, well, I only got one pair of socks, and we'll wash them. You know, that's how it is, man. I would say, but you know, it gets exhausting, man, because I really love the game. I understand the game, and you know, sometimes I guess I took a break from it, because if a kid hits a ground ball back to the pitcher, I want you running your ass off. I want you to run that hard 90, man. And if you half-ass it, I used to do crazy stuff, bro. I learned this from my mentor, who a lot of his guys became are MLB guys, you know. Christian Yelich being one of them. I don't know, you know, he was a center fielder for the Brewers, and he my friend coached that kid, coached Arenado, you know. And tons and tons of MLB guys, but I took his methods, man, and the way he coached, and I would always pick his brain, like, why do you do that? He goes, look, because you know, there's physical mistakes I can live with, but mental mistakes, I'm not having it. And I just took what he did, and a kid wouldn't run a hard 90, I'll stop the game, man. Middle of a game, I said, hey, come back, and then the blue would be like, what are you doing? You're wasting time. I don't care. Hey, pick up the bat. Kid has to pick up the bat and do a swing and then run his ass off. And if he didn't do it, he's not gonna play the rest of the game.
Wow.
If a kid didn't, if a parent would throw Gatorade over the fence, that kid would not play. And then a couple times parents wanted to throw blows with me. You know, they're like, hey, why'd you take my kid out? How come my kid? We drove all the way over here from so and so, and my kid didn't play. And then I would say, listen. Do you want your kid to play college ball? Is he going to play at least junior college, or do you? And then yes, he's going to play. Well, he's not going to play if somebody sees you handing him water like he's a t-ball player. I go, he's 13, 14, 15, 16, right? That age. I go, you better know that you have a game. Bring your own water. You know, that looks ridiculous. It looks like t-ball. And then and just things like that, man. I was a stickler for, man. You know, it was like if there's a foul ball, you know, I better not even say to one of the guys to go pick up that foul ball. You know, if they didn't, I would wait. Nobody picked up the foul ball. The whole team has to run to the left field or on the right field where I'm at. Everybody has to run, touch the gate, and come back. Tell you, bro, they didn't miss too many foul balls, bro. You know what I mean? Because it would be like, okay, my turn. Okay, you get it. They'll do it on their own. And it was just, I don't know, man. I could talk about baseball.
No, man, I love it. And I tell you, I would love to, whenever you want to get back into coaching, yeah. I mean, even if just a little bit, I'd love to go out with you.
No.
And it'll be like Penn and Teller. You do all the talking. I'll be the one that just, you know.
No.
Be your little silent assistant on the side.
Bro, you did that when you came out one day when I was coaching a team. I don't know if you remember.
Yeah. And that's why it's always been in my head that this was a thing, and I always really respected that about you. And you know, my dad is how I fell in love with baseball. Okay. And so, aside from all you've accomplished as a comedian, and as the main thing, not only what you've accomplished, how strong you still are today. And that's the thing. People don't last decades in comedy. Right. Unless you're the real deal.
Right.
And, you know, I have so much respect for you on a higher level than I do for most comedians. And one of the coolest things about you, I thought, was, wow, and on top of all that, the dude slices out this time to make a difference in these kids' lives with baseball, you know?
No, yeah.
I thought I could really use being around that.
No, you know, well, I'm gonna call my friend who's the head coach, and we'll spend a couple days with these kids, man. I'm gonna hook that up. But let me tell you why, bro. I gotta tell you why I feel that I have the same respect for you as a comedian, and what you're saying about how I write. and this one of the things that I've known when I comedians who wanted to learn, because I think it's half you have to learn, and the other half you have to have some talent, you know. And when I tell comics, this is what you have to do. You have to go somewhere, and I explain all these things that you have to do, but you have to be alone. And I think a lot of people have trouble being alone, man.
Yeah.
Because now there's silence. And in the silence, you start hearing shit about yourself that you don't like. Which why a lot of comedians don't have the discipline to sit down and write, because they're afraid of the silence, and they're afraid with the silence what they hear. So they're always yapping. That's why I always see comics at the Laugh Factory or the Comedy Store, and they're doing the same bits. And I'm thinking, this motherfucker, I saw it, he doesn't grow. But is he good at networking and chit-chatting and talking to people. Well, that's easy because there's a lot of energy and people and talking. But writing, you have to be by yourself, and you have to be able to like yourself, because you can be by yourself.
Yeah.
And that's why I feel a lot of comedians don't have that don't write original material, or material that's their own, because
or something from the heart.
Something from the heart, because you got to be by yourself, man. And comedians that I talk to, and I've said, bro, did you do that thing? And I've heard many times, man, Willie, I just can't sit there and write. I can't. Have you heard it? I can't sit there and write. Yeah, it's not that you can't sit there and write. It's that you don't want to hear what you have to say about yourself.
You don't like yourself enough to spend those those revealing moments.
Yeah, and I've heard this before. They say that a man that can be by himself is a dangerous man, because you can be by yourself, and you don't need people patting you on the back to tell you you're the man. We get that once we tell our jokes, but to get there, you gotta spend some time by yourself.
What are the great advice, or what is the best advice you've ever been given as a comedian? Because I think that, Jesus, that's, Moses coming down from the mountain with tablets advice.
Man, I've been given so much great advice from comics, because I always pick comics' brains,
But what's the best advice anyone ever gave you?
Yeah, man, I would say for me, the best advice... The best advice, I can't put that, but I can tell you from watching Pryor and Lenny Bruce and Carlin, who I paid like $400 to see in Vegas.
Wow.
I sat right in front watching them, and I picked up on one of his things where he had index cards, and then he would read a bit and then throw it, and then by the time the show was over, there was all kinds of index cards all over the ground. He was just like throwing, man.
Yeah.
Best advice is
so joke didn't work, and he just threw it.
Yeah. But he kept going. Best advice I've been given, man. That's a hard one, brother.
Okay. Well, listen, man. There's so much I want to talk to you about. The fact that you're from Los Angeles. You're from Mexican culture. Like you, I didn't know that you were born in Mexico.
Yeah, bro.
Where were you born in Mexico?
In Chihuahua. Yeah. But we came in. I gotta give my mom props, man, because she's a mean old bitch, but we didn't go through the mountains and the hills like a lot of people, which I respect the people that are doing it or are still doing it, man. If you're gonna risk your life getting here and you might die. Wow. But my mom had paid a lawyer from the States, a Mexican-American lawyer, and we got and she told, the lawyer said, we were in the car, said they were taking us to Disneyland for the day. And that was it. We were in a brand new Cadillac, and that's how we got here. We got here,
shit.
Yeah, and we never went back. But, yeah, man, I grew up in Boyle Heights, right by General Hospital.
Wow.
I used to sell oranges when I was a kid.
Really?
I was that little kid. I would sell oranges by the freeway, bro. And I was a good talker, man. I was a fast talker. And I was a little bit of a cheat too, man, because I remember there was a man in the corner who would go get oranges, I'm sure from Ventura, and then bring them back to Boy, and his truck would be full, and then I would help him pack the oranges, and he would pay me for helping to pack, and then he would pay me for each bag I sold. But it was summertime, man. It was hot. I remember I would eat like 3 oranges, and then sell each bag would be 3 oranges, like -3 oranges, man. And I would like, and if I knew, like, bro, I should have been kidnapped and killed, man, because it was it was on State Street, and it was, people were going into the 10 freeway, and they would stop, and I would stick my body in these people's cars, bro, with my bag. I was like 9 years old, and be like, all right, man, $1, all right, here, man. All I had to do was grab me by the hair and like, let's go, you know?
Yeah.
But I was just like, you know, now when I look back at it, I was like, what the fuck, you know? Like, but you know, I was a little hustler, man. And I wasn't a good kid either, bro. I remember going, we used to sell chocolates. Did you ever sell chocolates in school?
Yeah. Well, wait, for the baseball team. Yeah.
Or for the school.
Yeah.
You would sell them in the school. If you sold X amount of chocolates, they would give you a prize. You win like a poster or a flashlight or something. And the way you would do it is they would give you like a little envelope, and then they would give you a little a paper with people can fill in their name, their address, and how many they bought, and they give you the cash right there. So I remember being like 9 years old, man. I was already crooked, bro. I go, okay, I'm gonna go to General Hospital and talk to all these doctors, right, and nurses. And I would make the puppy face, you know, like a little chihuahua, right, right. And people would, and I knew that I was never gonna see these people again. So they would give me the money, and I would pocket it, bro. Yeah. I was no good, man. So maybe that's why bad shit happened to me.
Why are we trusting children with these financial decisions? You know? I mean, that's too much temptation.
Yeah, bro. But yeah, I mean, growing up in LA, and then I know that you do a segment about lowriders in LA, right?
That's what I want to talk to you about, lowrider culture, because it's something I've always found fascinating. I was in Japan 10 years ago, and I saw these lowrider dudes and these Japanese guys in Osaka, Japan. Yeah. They were dressed the way that
like homies,
Mexican gangbangers would dress in the 80s with the flannel shirt. They got like the dark Dickies pants. Yeah. They got the plaid Pendletons, but only the top 2 buttons, and then the clean white T-shirt underneath it, and the hairnet. Yeah. And these dudes are Japanese. Yeah. They live on the other, and they had lowrider cars, and ever since then I was like, I mean, I always liked cars, and I always thought that was like the highest art for a car. Yeah. But when I went to Japan and I saw this, it was just like, it blew me away, the impact. Yeah. And so through the years coming to LA and since I've lived here, and then also I think this has been a part of that, where I told you I've been trying to cheer myself up for the last year. Right. One of the ways I've tried to cheer myself up in the last year is by getting really into lowrider culture. Right. So I've been Googling events, and whenever there's a lowrider show in LA, I've been going to it.
Oh, I can take you to some. My friends have some mean rides, bro.
Oh, I would love to.
Okay, well, you know how I got started, right? I don't know if you know how the reason lowriders came to be.
Tell me the story.
Is because back in the day, man, the Mexican kids could not afford the new car, you know? So they always bought old cars that were like, somebody would junk them. But they always had an uncle that was a mechanic. They always had an uncle that worked with body. So they can buy a car for $200 and put it back together again, you know, from because they didn't have the money to buy a new car. It kind of came out of necessity. And then so what they did was they really went out of their way to polish, you know, the chrome and to get all the little emblems for these cars. And then the original, when I guess they lower it many different ways now, but the original way what they would lower the back would stick like sandbags in the back or bricks. That's how they would lower it back in the day. You know what I mean? Yeah. But it came from necessity. The same thing with the clothes from the 40s, the zoot suit. Yeah. It became a style, but the reason they had those coats because it was their dad's coats. they couldn't afford new suits. So they made it hip to wear their dad's clothes. You got like a 16-year-old skinny kid wearing his grandfather's suit.
Okay.
See?
That's why zoot suits were all
yeah, that's how it came from necessity. So it just became hip.
One thing I read about how lowrider culture started was that a lot of men returned from World War II, and they had learned all about engines and working on engines, but also like welding and doing all this different stuff that they had to do in the war effort. And then when they returned, that you had hot rod culture taking off, where all these people were like, taking old cars, souping them up, making them super fast. I guess like the white community, they're making hot rods and they're racing. Whereas in the Mexican community, it's all about community and family, and you don't want to go fast. You want to slow down and be among your community, and that's why the cars went so low, because so that they could go really slow and
show off the ride. No, absolutely. And one of the misconceptions, man, with people that don't know anything about lowriders in the culture, they are not and I would say 99.9% of them are not affiliated to gangs. There's a percentage that I'm not gonna lie that are connected, but the majority of them are not connected to gangs, because you gotta remember, man, to get a lowrider and put it together, you gotta have a job.
Yeah,
because it costs
so much money.
It's so much money that you got to put in there. You got to have a job.
I had a classic car years ago when I had money, when I lived in LA in the 90s, and it takes a lot of money to maintain a classic car. Then you want to add on all of the details and hydraulics and special features of a lowrider.
And a lot of these, you got to remember, a lot of these guys are married with kids and a wife, and you better work some overtime, because your wife is going to give you shit if the kids aren't going to Disneyland, but your lowrider's got new rims. I'm telling you, that's the shit that goes on, which is why most of these cats that have lowriders, man, when you take off the facade, what you see in front, he owns a graphic company, or he owns a plumbing company, or he's they all own. A lot of them are very, very successful cats, bro.
They got it. That's a great point. And I think it takes so much money that's put into these cars. Yeah. And one thing I think is that it's one of the true American art forms. Like jazz came from Harlem, stand-up comedy started in America, and the lowrider culture of Los Angeles. Like those are like the main true American art forms. Yeah. And the amount of money and the artwork, like these. A lot of these cars are just masterpieces. And you have like Van Goghs and Warhols that are being sold at Sotheby's auctions for like $100 million, $200 million. That's how I feel about some of these lowrider cars when I see them. That like, this is like one of the most precious pieces of art on the planet. Not all of them. I've seen some half-assed ones, but like ones that just the paintings are breathtaking on it. And you look at that metal, detail work, and it's got like engraved ornamentation on it.
I'm gonna set up a night or a day where you cats go out. You go see my friend's lowrider. He's on off Atlantic, and he'll show you his ride, man, and tell you all about it. And I'm gonna hook you up with some lowrider people, man.
I would love that.
Yeah, no, good people, man. So
good. So that's just something that's always been around.
Yeah, the closest I ever got to it, man. I was a teenager when I got my car, and I turned a Volkswagen into a lowrider. Cool. I had a 1958 ragtop, bug. Yeah. And it had the little lights in the back. I don't know if you know the 1958s are small, and I redid the interior. I did the panels. I did, I was into every little. I used to get the knobs, man. I used to get the knobs take them out and put them in gasoline just to clean them up, to really get them like that real original bone color. I mean, I was, but what happened was I was 19 years old, and I had probably $1,000, $2,000 worth of tickets, parking tickets, and I had to sell it because of that. So I sold it before I turned 20, man. I remember that I started putting together the car when I was 17, and when I was done with it, I was probably 20, and then I sold it that year because all the parking tickets. Man.
Funny. Do you have any other thoughts on just how unique lowrider culture is to the Mexican American community in Los Angeles, or just what it represents, or anything?
No, it's part of it, man. It's very, and then I know there's all these new terms they call Latinx, Hispanic, Latino, but the lowrider is synonymous with Chicanos. It's the Chicanos is which is Mexican American words, Mexican American word that it describes that lowriders and Chicanos, man, is it's like I don't know, bro.
What would be the difference? Because you don't hear Chicano, that word being thrown around too often.
No, because it's because of the new generation. The new generation calls themselves. I mean, have you heard Latinx?
Yeah.
I guess you get all Latin people, and I don't know what that means. And then and no disrespect to Latinx people, because I know it's one of those things today where people you're gonna get bad emails on it. It's like, bro, I don't really know. I should know what it means, and I think I have an idea what it means, but not really. Yeah, man. As far as lowriders have always been part of East LA, bro.
I think it's one of the coolest things in the world.
Yeah.
Now, to me, you are a bona fide legend just as a stand-up comedian. But within the Mexican American world, comedy world, you are like Babe Ruth, Mickey Mantle, one of the greatest, revered.
Oh man, I wish, bro. I'm pretty respected, but I've dealt with some of the things I think you've dealt with, man. Because when I came up as a stand-up, Paul Rodriguez was around. He was already established. Everybody knew Paul, right? He had AKA Pablo, and then George Lopez was a headliner. Like that guy could headline anywhere, right? And then I was coming in, and then Paul was already doing Paul and Cheech and Chong. They already do the super I would say Latino influence comedy, And I said, okay, George is doing that, Cheech did that, Paul is doing that. How do I separate myself? And it's not that I wanted to go away from my Latino culture, because all you have to do is look at me and understand that, yeah, this guy is Latino. But I wanted to tell jokes that were more inclusive, that if you were white or black and you're in the audience, you go, oh, like you didn't have to be Latino to get the joke. So in my career, man, I've had this battle where at times I wasn't Latino enough for Latinos, and obviously I wasn't white. So I was always like in this zone, man, where I couldn't get my audience. And it's funny that now I'll put up clips on social media that I did 25 years ago, and they're like, that's amazing, that's funny, it's funny, and they're like, I'm like, fuck, that joke's 25 years old, but I almost, with comedy, I feel like because there's more of the white culture understands the Latino culture a little more, and because Latino culture has evolved, that my comedy's almost like reintroducing, my stand-up from years ago is getting all this love. Do you know what I mean? Which is just regular stuff. I mean, I got one bit that, it's relationships, shit that we've gone through. And I mean, the thing got 20 million views, But it wasn't like, orale, my old lady, she broke up with me. No, it was like, man, my wife, she asked me to, my friend asked me to go have a beer or something. I forgot how the joke goes. But it wasn't like, hey, my friend goes, hey, Vato, let's go have a beer. Look, see, the joke wasn't like that. The joke was just a regular joke. And it just, at that time, it just went through the atmosphere, And then now we put the joke up, we get 20 million views, bro.
Yeah.
It's crazy, And a lot of the bits that are old bits, I'll put on. Obviously, the new ones, we put in old, new, but, some of them, like the old ones would be like, million views, and I believe because it's taken time. I feel that the way I was doing stand up, I didn't want to pander. Like, me, man. You never saw me on stage, like, orale,
Never.
What's all you vatos doing?
Never.
Never. And I remember.
No, you are one of the realest motherfuckers I have ever seen on stage.
Oh, thank you, bro.
Yeah.
Thank you, man. And for that reason, I think, I could have got that Chicano, like, big following like George did in Mencia, but I was like, oh, wow, but that's not how I am, It's like I knew gangbangers. I mean, I knew gangbangers. I could be around them because I grew up with them. I got to drink beers with them, but I was never a gangbanger, bro. That's why I relate to that scene with Goodfellas so much, bro. Where like Ray Liotta is talking to Joe Pesci. Joe Pesci's a real killer, right? And Ray Liotta is kind of, if you look at from the outside, from the big scope, he's kind of hangs around with those guys. And there's that scene where Joe Pesci goes, "Hey, what do you mean that was funny?" Right? And then you
funny how, like a
funny
clown?
How, yeah. But then you see Ray Liotta's reaction. And he's scared, man.
Yeah. He's
really scared, bro, that he's going to get fucked up. And it's funny because I've been around homies, drinking at night, and I'm a shit talking, I'm a comedian, and I've bagged on somebody, and I've had a gangbanger, like, step up to me like that, like, quiet me down, Like, hey, you got a big mouth, puto, And then there are people who have to hold them back, right? Like, no, Willie was just joking, You just joking, puto? And I was like, yeah, bro, I was just joking. You know what I mean? I've been in that situation. So I'm not going to fake it and be on stage like I'm this guy that was, was in the gangs or anything when I wasn't, man.
Yeah.
I was like, when the shit went down, it's like, all right, man, fuck, I gotta go to school tomorrow, man. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But, anyways, man.
I worked with, I remember George Lopez when he was first coming up.
Before he became a gangbanger? No, I'm just kidding, bro. I'm just kidding.
George, when George was really young, I remember him at the Ice House and coming up. So I've known George for years. And then I remember seeing him, I don't know, maybe it was like 20 years ago. He said two interesting things. So his wife had just given him his kidney. Okay. He had a kidney.
It's been 20 years already? Yeah. Technical.
Was it? Maybe 15 years ago. Okay. However long ago this was. Right, I remember seeing George Lopez after he had a kidney transplant and his wife gave him the kidney. Right. And he said, other women really don't want to fuck you when they know you have your wife's kidney inside you.
Oh, shit.
Something, I love George, I've known him forever. He said there was something going on, well, I don't know, with Carlos Mencia or somebody, I don't even remember what the issue was. But it was two Mexican-American comedians being really nasty to each other.
They were.
And I asked George, I said, why are the Mexican comedians so nasty with each other? And he said, you ever heard the story about the crabs in the bucket?
Yeah.
So you know that?
No, but that's him, bro.
So the story is the guy's carrying these, he's got two buckets with crabs in it, and one has a lid on it, and the other one doesn't.
Yeah.
And he says, why do you have a lid on one pot of crabs and not on the other? He said, well, the one with the lid on it, those are the Asian crabs. And you got to keep a lid on it because all them Asian crabs help each other. Yeah. They'll all lift each other up, and then just even if they can get one out, they'll all help each other to help the one succeed. But with the Mexican crabs, you don't have to put on a lid on it because anytime any one of them gets anyone near the top, all the rest of them pull him down.
No,
and I thought that was like the most cold-blooded analogy I had ever heard.
No, but you know what? That's a fact with those guys, with George and Paul. And listen, Paul's a friend of mine, so I'm not talking behind his back. No, I wouldn't say anything that I wouldn't say to his face, bro.
Yeah.
I mean, you know, Paul has cried to me. I mean, we've drank together. He cried and regret that he never helped other comedians out. I mean, drinking, bro, and he's just like tears coming down. And he says, you know, George, man, maybe, you know, he should have helped people out. You know, they were like that, bro. I wasn't. I remember it became a different club, but it was Carlos and Charlie's. Remember on Sunset? Mm-mm. It's Carlos and Charlie's. I forget what it's called now, but back in like 92, 93, I got every new comedian coming up, bro. And I said, okay, all you Latinos, we're gonna do a comedy here, because you know everybody was scattered around, and I said, oh man, we'll be stronger in numbers, right? So I had this show, and I forgot how much money they charged me for the venue. I had to pay all the comedians. Carlos Mencia was on the show with us, but only like 15 or 18 people showed up, right? And I promised each comedian like $200, and there was like 6. I don't know. It was a lot of money I had to dish out, bro. And each comedian, I would go, man, look, bro, I'm gonna pay you, right? But just, man, this is gonna drain me. You know, I was like, you know, you're a young comedian. I was idealistic. And every comedian said, don't worry about it, Willie. Don't worry about it. They're like, don't worry about it. Thank you, man. You know, let me give you something, man. You know, here's $40, right? And then Mencia was the last one. I go, Mencia, man, you know what happened. Mencia, I don't give a fuck. Because you said you give me $200. I want my $200. I had to give him his $200, bro. He's the one that was like, I don't give a fuck. Give me my $200. Wow. Yeah, so, you know, I mean, hey, he was entitled to his $200, but you didn't have to be a dick about it, right? It could have been cool, you know. I mean, we were all young comedians.
Well, let's talk about
and the reason I share that story is because I never wanted to be that guy who didn't try to help other people. Yeah, you know, and I just wanted, because I've helped comedians as much as I could, you know, with the little bit of juice I had. Yeah. So I just wanted to.
But it seems like you've always been a mentor, like, to, you know, in baseball, comedy, and life, to a lot of people. You know, you seem to have, you know, whatever mistakes you've made, that's the good karma you've put back in the universe. That you always seem to trying to be lifting people up in some way,
bro. And I know where that comes from, and it comes from being in Mexico, having like times where there was no food, bro. Like I don't know. You have to experience hunger to understand what that pain is. To go to sleep hungry, bro, is the most painful fucking thing. I'd rather take an ass whooping, bro, than go to sleep without food. And going to sleep without food in Mexico when I was a kid, man. And then when I came here and we didn't have a lot, and as I became, when I became a comedian, and I was getting booked and making money and things were happening, I always felt like, man, why only me? You know, why not help out this other kid? You know, I want him to eat too. Do you know what I mean? Yeah. It comes from that, bro. It comes from that. It comes from like this pain where you don't want to see another kid be hungry. And you know, when we were young comedians, bro, it wasn't easy at first. You know what I mean? Yeah. We had to go to get those.
All survived by the help from somebody else. Yeah.
Yeah, you know, and then you know you're counting your change from the ashtray. You know, you go to McDonald's.
Man, I used to hitchhike to gigs.
I'll take a cheeseburger and a water. Yeah. Right?
I used to hitchhike to gigs, and it was always the generosity of other comedians getting me on shows when I had no money and I'm just, you know, eating, you know, a can of soup every day. Yeah. So let's talk about like Mexican heroes, like Mexican American heroes, because I just finished reading The Kid, which is the biography of Ted Williams. Okay, all right, I love baseball, I'm sorry.
Yeah.
So Ted Williams was from San Diego.
His mom was from Mexico.
He was half Mexican.
Yeah.
And so it just blew my mind. Like, here's the greatest hitter who ever lived.
He couldn't say it.
Who could be like such a hero to Mexican kids everywhere.
Yeah.
And like the guy didn't admit that he was Mexican his whole life.
No, he couldn't, man. It was too much racism back then.
Wow, that just blows my mind. The greatest hitter of all time was half Mexican.
Yeah, I was on a rock station and we were talking baseball, and the jock, that was interviewing me, he said, "Man, he's being funny, right? We're busting balls, but he goes, I just want to say Ted Williams was the greatest player of all time, right?" It sounds like, a white guy, man. He said that, right? It's a rock station, and I go, "Yeah, but he was half Mexican, bro." And he goes, "What? No, what? We're gonna go break." And he goes to break, right? He looks it up, and he's on the air going, "Wow, I never knew that, man. This dude just taught me something." But yeah, man. But he couldn't say it.
That's hilarious. I did like one of these afternoon TV shows in Minneapolis years ago, and I had just moved back from Amsterdam. I lived in Amsterdam, and the guy, the little dorky co-host guy, he goes. Oh, you lived. Your biography says you lived in Amsterdam, and I'm a really big Marvin Gaye fan, and I always loved that Marvin Gaye lived in Amsterdam. And I go, Marvin Gaye never lived in Amsterdam. I'm also a huge Marvin Gaye fan. Marvin Gaye had he had developed a really bad cocaine and pornography habit, and he had a rich friend that lived in Belgium near Antwerp, and the rich friend invited him to stay there, so he went and lived in Belgium near Antwerp to kick these addictions. And he would often visit the prostitutes in Antwerp, and that's where he wrote the song Sexual Healing. And the dude, his face is like, is blank. He's like, and he's arguing with me. No, I'm a big fan, and he lived in Amsterdam. And I don't think, we're on TV, so, but the dude obviously didn't know what the hell he was talking about.
Well, I didn't know that.
Don't throw out some knowledge to somebody who knows more of you on the topic.
No, bro, there's, like you say, Hollywood, it is what it is, bro. They're all, for me, they're always gonna portray the lowest common denominator. The guy like Richard Ramirez is way more famous than Pancho Gonzalez. And Pancho Gonzalez is one of the greatest tennis players of all time. I know you've never heard of him, but this guy.
What was it? In the 80s?
No, in the 70s. Okay. 60s and 70s. Wow. He's got he broke some like his records. Some of his records still haven't been broken, but there was an East LA kid. And at the time, the tennis world wanted nothing to do with him, but he was winning, and he had a bad temper, and he would walk into stadiums with like two white chicks, which was no. And he was he learned to play tennis against a garage door, with a just an old raggedy racket.
Wow.
And the way the who knows about him is Robert Redford. I'm surprised they never did a movie on him, because Robert Redford would see him play. They would hire him to play against UCLA kids. So Robert Redford was at UCLA when Pancho Gonzalez was playing. Became, if you ever look him up, one of the greatest tennis players of all time that you never heard of. When you talk about heroes, all right?
But that's interesting that you say Richard Ramirez is more well known, and Richard Ramirez was the Night Stalker,
who
went and killed people in the Hollywood Hills.
Yeah.
So
no, man, and I can say I'll give you another heroes that you never heard of. Have you ever heard of the Flying Aztecs? Okay, they were a squadron from Mexico. They were fighter pilots that blitzed the Germans when they were I think they're going to the Philippines or coming here or somewhere. But very famous story about they got monument to them in Washington, the Flying Aztecs. They have all their names, and they blitzed the German Air Force and then they wiped them out, bro. And the whole story about them that another story nobody's ever heard of. The Flying Aztecs from Mexico. And if you look them up, people go, "Oh shit, what?"
And that was in World War II?
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
So give me more Mexican American heroes.
Willie Barcena. No, just kidding. That's a bad motherfucker.
I was going to throw that in at the end as a compliment, but Carlos Santana.
Oh
yeah. Who else can you help me celebrate?
Oh, bro.
There's a guy out of Austin, Texas. I always call him the Mexican Bob Dylan. He's really old now, but Alejandro Escovedo.
Oh,
I love this dude.
I thought you were gonna say Freddie Fender.
Freddie. Also, Freddie Fender was
wasted days and wasted nights.
Freddie Fender was amazing.
Yeah.
This guy's more Bob Dylan-esque singer-songwriter.
Yeah.
Where Freddie was country.
Yeah.
From San Benito, Texas.
I'll tell you what. I had a room in East LA years ago, man. When I started, when we weren't. Hollywood or the clubs in Hollywood had their guys, and I started a room in East LA, and I had Gabriel started there.
Yeah.
Felipe Esparza. Man, I used to take Chris Tucker there, bro, to this room in East LA, and Oscar used to come by. Oscar De La Hoya.
Oh wow.
Yeah, and it pissed me off because I introduced him one time, and you gotta remember, there's this little bar in East LA. And it's Montebello, which is 2 blocks away from East LA. From Montebello, I love saying, we're Montebello, it's East LA. So I remember one time I had Oscar there and talk about that story about the crabs, man. Oscar had just won the gold and then won a belt, I think, at the time. He was real young.
And I don't know if he was a middleweight, not only one of the greatest middleweight boxers of all time, one of the most handsome fighters.
He was lightweight. He started at lightweight.
One of the most handsome fighters, also.
Yeah. He never had, his face was never busted up. But anyway, he was there, bro, and I go, hey, everybody, Oscar's right here. And the fucking room started booing him, man. Yeah, I got mad. I got the microphone, and I go, you motherfuckers, man. This is why we don't succeed. Here we have the champ sitting with us. You think he's going to come back tomorrow? Fuck no. He's going to tell you guys to fuck off. I go, that's what's wrong with our people. And I used to give these speeches, bro, like you wouldn't believe, man. They were going to kill me one time, bro. Like, I had to talk my way out of it. But I would talk so much trash, and I go, hey, bring on the next guy, man. But, yeah, man, I don't know why. Shared a little Oscar De La Hoya.
No, it was
story.
good how you tied it back in with the crab story. Yeah. And I don't know how accurate that was. I just always thought it was.
Yeah, it was pretty accurate.
Yeah. So, what else? We've been going over hour 15 now. Perfect. Okay, cool, man. That whizzed by real quick. So, so any other last things you want to cover?
Well, no. Have your fans, if they want to look at some of my clips, they can find me on Instagram at Willie Barcena, Willie Barcena, B as in boy, Arcena, and then also TikTok, same thing, Willie Barcena. And I have a bunch of clips there, and I love to thank you for introducing me to your fans. And then I'm gonna get something going. I want to introduce my fans.
Oh my God, I would love it.
You, bro.
No, and I think I forgot to mention this before. I'm glad you're preserving all of that old material so it's not lost.
Right.
Like great jokes you wrote 10, 20 years ago.
We got a new audience. Yeah, man. You have a library of material. And all this new generation, man. Like my man's age here in their 20s, if they see your bits, it's new to them, man. It's like, holy shit. And it really helps, man. I've had people at shows where like, dude, I saw you on TikTok, and I'm like, how old are you? Well, I'm 24. Like, what the fuck? All right, cool. Yeah. So I believe your material has a lasting time frames. It's preserved. It's not like I think guys that did like hey man, can you believe OJ was on that Bronco? And then you put that joke. It's not really gonna.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? It's not really gonna. It doesn't have time. Value where it lasts.
Yeah.
But if you say, hey, something about, I know you talked about life like I did. Well,
that's the way I feel about you, man. You are an all-time classic comedian. It's got nothing to do with your ethnicity, and it has totally 100% to do with who you are as a person and your tenacity. And like you said, you got to have talent. You got fucking truckloads of talent.
Oh, thank you, bro.
And I respect you. I love you. And, thank you so much for being on the program.
Thank you for having me, bro.
In closing, is there any words of wisdom or advice that you'd like to give to the people of the earth?
People of the earth. Hey, here's my advice to people. No matter how low things get, I know you can't see it because you're in the fire. Something good is gonna happen. You just find places that you can go. It's funny because we didn't even talk about this. Like, he went to the ocean. Tom would go to the ocean to walk. I would go to the ocean to walk when I had and I would just ask, not like the universe, and just say, hey, I need some help. I would close my eyes, and that was the best things that I could say to anyone is go, meditate. And from what I hear from people that meditate in heavy ways, meditation doesn't have to be this thing where you're like, sitting a certain way and humming a certain thing. It's just closing your eyes and leaving your mind blank and asking for energy to come in. So that's my advice.
No, that's good. I tried it a few times years ago when I moved here, and it might be helpful to get back into that.
Yeah, man. Alone and clearing the mind.
To shut up the voices in your brain that's always, saying you got to do this, contact that guy, or whatever, would be a real luxury.
Yeah. So. I think you do what I do on stage, man. And I'm sure you do it. Now that we're older and wiser, before I get on stage, I used to get all pumped up, get my blood going and go, okay, man, I got this. Now it's the opposite. Now it's like, before I go on stage, I'm like, all right, whoever has something to say it, speak through me.
Whoever, inside
yeah, whoever wants to go ahead, it's your turn. So yeah,
I love it. Now's your moment.
Yeah,
let yourself out.
Yeah, and then these sometimes I get these things that come out, man, these bits, they come out of the subconscious, and I always record everything, and I'm like, how did I say that,
Yeah.
Like, okay, let me listen to that. So.
Well, you're a beautiful man, Willie Barcena.
Thank you.
Long may you run, my brother.
No, appreciate you.
Long may you run.
Appreciate you, bro.
Thank you, brother.
Tom Rhodes, you're a funny man. Tom Rhodes, you're an international comedian. Tom Rhodes, karate kick, baby, oh yeah. Tom Rhodes, you're a groovy dude. You go all around the world, telling jokes to all of the people. You are an international comedian. You're funny to everybody in every single country in the world. Tom Rhodes, I like you very much. I think you're talented and very wonderful. Tom Rhodes, you're the best guy in the world. I wanna be your friend. You should call me sometime. Here is my phone number, 603-644-0048. Yeah. Tom Rhodes, you're an international comedic sensation. Tom Rhodes, I like to listen to your podcast. Tom Rhodes, you're the best man to ever walk on the earth.